السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله على إحسانه وشكر له على توفيقه وامتنانه، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله تعظيما لشأنه، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله داعي إلى رضوانه وعلى آله وأصحابه وإخوانه. أما بعد. إخواني في الله, we continue with our lecture series regarding the book of Siyam, the book related to the rulings of fasting. Question, إخواني في الله. On the day of judgment, the believers shall be called to the gates of paradise. The gates of paradise are 8 in number. So some people will be called, the people of Salah will be called from the gate of Salah. The people of Sadaqah will be called from the gate of Sadaqah. But the people of Siyam will not be called from the gate of Siyam. They'll be called from the gate of Ar-Rayyan. Have you understood? The people of prayer will be called from the gate of prayer. The people of charity will be called from the gate of charity. The people of Salah will be called, come through this gate, Babu Salah. The people of Sadaqah will be told, come through this gate, Babu Sadaqah. But when it comes to the people of Siyam, they'll be told to come from the gate of Ar-Rayyan. They will not be called from the gate of Siyam. Why is this? Now, because Ikhwani Fillah, as we mentioned, the Siyam in the Arabic language means al-imsak, to prevent yourself or hold yourself or to keep yourself away from something. But when you come to Jannah, you're not keeping yourself away from anything. It is pleasure and it's enjoying. You've come to Jannah to eat, to drink, to enjoy yourself for all of eternity. So this meaning of fasting is not appropriate for the gate. When you enter Jannah, it has the name Ar-Rayyan, which means you'll be filled up with nice drinking water, or your thirst will be quenched completely. Second question, Ikhwani Fillah. What was the first fasting that was obligatory on the Muslims? Who knows? Why? Sometimes you ask people, then you wonder no one is answering. Are you talking to people or you are alone? What is the first fasting? When the Prophet ﷺ came to Medina, he found the Jews in Medina were fasting a particular fast. Then he said, we are more worthy to fast this fast. Which fast is that? Ashura. So the Muslims were fasting, the day of Ashura was obligatory before the fast of Ramadan. Taib. When the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ came to Medina, listen to this. When he came to Medina, he found the Jews fasting the day of Ashura. Then he said, we are more worthy to fast the day of Ashura. So the day of Ashura was made obligatory. Then when Ramadan became obligatory, Ashura became Sunnah. Have you understood that point? So for benefit, how many Ashuras were obligatory on the Muslims? Based on that information I've given you. When the Prophet ﷺ came to Medina, he found the Jews fasting the day of Ashura. This is the day they were saved from Fir'aun. So he said, we are more worthy of Musa on the day of Ashura than the Jews. So he made ﷺ, they fasted. It was obligatory on the Muslims to fast the day of Ashura. Then Ramadan became obligatory on them. So question, how many Ashuras were obligatory on the Muslim based on this information? And the previous lessons we took? 2. Year 1 and year 2. Because Sawm was made obligatory in year 2. So the Ashura of year 1 and year 2 are obligatory. Muharram comes before Ramadan. So Muharram of year 1 and Muharram of year 2. That's the argument. Type. Who has a different answer? He says 2. Because Ramadan became obligatory in year 2. So it means when the Prophet ﷺ came in year 1, Ashura of year 1 and Ashura of year 2 are obligatory on the Muslims. Who disagrees? Some of the scholars who taught us, the ones who allow us to debate in class and make mistakes, those are the best of sheikhs we used to have. So sometimes we used to have debates for hours in class. Those are the best experiences. But when you ask student questions and all of them are like this, being shy, you're not going to get anywhere in life. Taib. He said, that year 1 and year 2. But only one correction that we can make, the Prophet ﷺ, Hijrah was year 1, but not in the month of Muharram. The Prophet ﷺ entered Medina in the month of Rabi' al-Awwal. So he entered after the first year's Ashura had passed. So the Muslims, they took back the calendar. It doesn't mean in Muharram and Safar. The Prophet ﷺ was not in Medina. He was in Mecca. That's just for benefit. Hijri calendar, yes, it's correct. But the very first two months or so, the Prophet ﷺ was not there. We mentioned the conditions that are related to the obligation of fasting. The first condition we took was Islam. Shukran, brother, for bringing a book and a paper. The rest of the students also should take, even if it's writing on the phone. There's an imam that he says is called the last Hafid. It's called Imam Ali ad-Daraqutni rahimahullah. He attended a class for like 3 weeks. He was not, as the students are busy writing notes, he was writing his own notes and not focusing on the class. The students are focusing on the teacher and writing everything the teacher is saying. But this imam is making other notes. So the students are wondering, you've come all this distance to study ilm al-hadith, yet you're wasting your time. He says, I'm wasting my time. Bring your books of hadith. The first hadith the Shaykh mentioned was this and this and this. The second hadith, the third hadith, the Shaykh, his memory, Imam al-Daraqutni, was so excellent that he repeated all the hadiths they learned for the last 3 weeks offered without making a single mistake. So much so, the students who had written, they had made mistakes in their writing, so they were correcting based on the memory of that Imam. But this Imam passed away in the year 378, if I'm not wrong. And no other Hafid has come from that date. So none of you are Imam Daraqutni. So next time you come with a book and notes, inshallah. First condition we said for the obligation of fasting is Islam. You have to be a Muslim. The second condition, you have to have reached puberty. Puberty is known by 4 signs. What are those 4 signs? Number 1, you were not yesterday. Wet dreams. Number 2, age of pubic hair. Okay, pubic hair. Number 3, age of 15. Based on which calendar? The calendar we use or the Hijri calendar? The Hijri calendar. That's a mistake people do. Follow the Hijri calendar. And the 4th that's specific to girls is periods are menstruation and menstruation. Okay? So a girl can menstruate when she's 9. If she gets pure, Sawm is obligatory upon her, Salah is obligatory upon her, and so forth. The third condition, for the obligation is mental capacity, al-aql. That means the person who is mentally incapacitated, dementia or Alzheimer's or amnesia or any other disease that makes them not able to be comprehending what the Sharia wants from them, then the Sawm is not obligatory upon them. So you have a grandparent, you have a relative, a brother or a sister, they are not able to fast because they are not mentally okay. You do not need to feed a poor person because the obligation of Sawm is not upon them. You have a person who's reached 80 years of age, 90 years of age, they wear diapers. They cry like little babies. The curve has gone up, it's gone down. They're back to how they were as children. So they're closer to children in ruling than to adults, in all honesty. So the obligation also falls on them. This is the third condition: Islam, puberty, mental capacity, al-aql. The 4th condition was ability. What? Residence. The 4th was residence. So the Sawm is obligatory on the person who's resident and not obligatory on the one who is a traveler. And we said the correct opinion of a traveler is what you in your community considers to be travel. And together. Don't tell me, someone travels, it doesn't matter the difficulty or the ease of travel. You can travel from here to Mombasa in 45 minutes. You're still considered a traveler. Umesafiri. Even in the language, you're considered that you are on safar. So you can break your fast, you can reduce your salah. But if you live here and you go to Athi River, is it accepted from us, from the people of Nairobi, that Athi River is travel? Do you consider travel? Or Sokimau here, does that consider travel? So we don't consider it travel, so you cannot break your fast, you cannot combine or reduce your prayers. The 5th condition of Hanifillah was the ability to fast. So you have to have the health, the physical health to fast. The sixth condition, you have to be now pure from menstruation. This for boys or girls? Girls type. And the seventh condition, you have to have the intention type. Mumtaz. When was Ramadan made obligatory? We did yesterday. The second year. The second year. So the Prophet ﷺ fasted how many Ramadans? No? 9 Ramadans. Prophet ﷺ, he fasted ﷺ 9 Ramadans. Type. There are some sunnahs or some acts that are required of a Muslim who's fasting. The very first act is that you are supposed to rush in taking your iftar. Take your iftar as soon as the time has reached. As soon as you're sure that the time of iftar has reached, you should take your iftar. Don't say that you guys are you're not strong enough, you're cowards, I can still hold on for another 3 hours or 4 hours or 6 hours. This is not, it's not a gym, you're doing reps or something, competing in exercise, no. It has reached the time of iftar. The Prophet ﷺ, he says, لا يزال الناس بخير ما عجل الفطر. The people will not cease to be in a good state as long as they rush to take the iftar. So take your iftar immediately it reaches. The mistake that people make also with regards to the iftar is that today is the 27th of Sha'ban. The time on the adhan is 6:40. Right now it's 6:48 or 49, approximately. 6:50. On the 27th is 6:50. 28th, 6:49. 29th of Sha'ban, 6:48, for example. Then Ramadan, the next day, you find that the muaddin has all of a sudden increased the adhan to 7 o'clock. Does that make sense, honestly? I understand the 28th of Sha'ban, he was making the adhan at 6:49. 29th of Sha'ban, he was making the adhan at 6:49. Then Ramadan, first Ramadan comes, he makes the adhan at 6:59. What has changed? Nothing has changed. The only thing he's done, he says, let us be careful with regards to the iftar. We don't want to make a mistake. Let us delay the iftar for 10 minutes. And that is what you find in the timetables. Many of these timetables are given free in the mosques. You find that the time of suhoor is brought earlier than the adhan of Fajr, 15 minutes before Fajr. That's a mistake. The second mistake they make is making the adhan or the time of breaking the fast after. The Prophet ﷺ says, لا يزال الناس بخير ما عجل الفطر. So you have to do your iftar at the time, regardless of the mosque. Some mosques don't give the adhan, you're sure you have the app. Alhamdulillah, these days you have a salah app. Most of these salah apps are correct. Look at the time of the app, you break your fast. Yes, it can bring some commotion. This is not something to bring commotion, honestly, because you're following the time of adhan that was yesterday. What changed? I understand the argument. Type. The second thing, Ikhwani fillah, is that you should be careful not to break your fast in a rush. That's also a little bit confusing. You should be sure that the sun has set. What I want to mean is that break your fast when you're sure that the sun has set to the best of your capability. You're in a place where there's no adhan, there's no watch. You look up at the sky and you see that there's no sun. It has set according to the best of your capability. You can break your fast. However, it happened to the Sahaba that the Prophet ﷺ says, the hadith of Asma bint Abi Bakr, she says, أفطرنا على عهد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يوم غيم ثم طلعت الشمس. We broke our fast on a day that was cloudy in the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Thereafter, after we broke the fast, the sun came out. What does that mean? They broke their fast before the time of breaking the fast had reached. Did they do it intentionally? No. They based their opinion on the majority, on the closest they could find. They thought it had set, but they were wrong. But that did not invalidate their fast. That did not invalidate the fast. So you, to the best of your capability, don't be a person of desires who does just everything out of desires. Just try to get what is the most, that is the truth, that is the closest to the truth, you follow it. What is the dua that you say when you're breaking your fast? Also a mistake when it comes to these timetables, they give the weakest hadith when it comes to the dua of making when you break your fast. The only dua, like all the du'as are weak. The only dua that is the strongest of those weak du'as is the dua, it says, ذهب الظمأ وابطلت العروق وثبت الأجر إن شاء الله. This is the only one. ذهب الظمأ, the thirst has gone. وابطلت العروق, the veins are filled. وثبت الأجر إن شاء الله, and the reward has been confirmed. This is the dua that you make when you're breaking your fast. And don't forget to make other du'as for yourself, because from the places where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts dua is when you're breaking your fast. So don't focus only on the dates and the water and you forget to make dua for yourself. The second sunnah, ikhwani fillah, with regards to the fast of Ramadan and other fasts, is that we Muslims take something called suhoor. We take suhoor. What is the difference between suhoor and sahur? There's sahur and there's suhoor. Sahur is the food that you take at the time of suhoor. Suhoor is the action of taking sahur. So sahur is the food, suhoor is the action of taking that food. The Prophet ﷺ says, تَسَحَّرُوا فَإِنَّ فِي السَّحُورِ بَرَكَةً. Take suhoor because in suhoor there's barakah. The Prophet ﷺ made that this is an issue that is a difference between you and the previous nations of the Jews and the Christians. They used to fast, but they never used to take the suhoor. Once again, ikhwani fillah, when you use your brain, you might be thinking, the longer the hunger period, the longer or the greater the reward. If you're using your logic, you might be thinking, the longer the hunger period, the higher the reward. No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to make easy for you everything. So make your suhoor very late, almost near the time of adhan. And the best thing to take, of course, is dates for breaking your fast and also for suhoor. Dates, water, don't take a lot of starchy things. You shall get, it will affect you very early on. So this is from the sunnah of Prophet ﷺ says, فَصْلُ مَا بَيْنَ صِيَامِنَا وَصِيَامِ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ أَكْلَةُ السَّحْرِ. Says, the difference between us and the siyam of the people of the book is eating the suhoor. Also in the suhoor is the time you can, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes down and asks for anyone to make dua to him, anyone to make istighfar to him, and he answers your dua and he accepts your istighfar. كانوا قليلا من الليل ما يهجعون وبالأسحار هم يستغفرون. When it comes to the time of suhoor, they make istighfar. Inshallah, we shall have questions after today's lecture. And the best suhoor, the Prophet ﷺ says, نعم السحور المؤمن التمر. The best suhoor for the believer is a tamr. The third issue, ikhwani fillah, with regards to the fast, when you're fasting, you should not waste your time with giving your reward away. Some people were created, ikhwani fillah, to work for other people, to do deeds for other people. So they fast, they perform the qiyamul layl, the tahajjud, and all this ibadat. But all that reward goes to someone else. They spend i'tikaf, they fast, they do all the ibadah, but it goes to other people. Why? They backbite. They spread news from here to break bonds. They make fun of people. Also, they make sins that reduce the ajr of their sawm. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Hadith al-Quds, إِلَّا الصِّيَامِ فَإِنَّهُ لِي وَأَنَا أَجْزِي بِهِ. He says, except for the fast. Every ibadah, we know the reward that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given for it. Except for the fast. That is between you and Allah Azza wa Jal. Yet, a person when they are fasting, some of them make this mistake of backbiting, of insulting, of spreading namima, breaking bonds, also watching or viewing things that are haram to view, or listening to music and such. Don't do these things, they reduce your reward. And siyam is something that is between you and Allah Azza wa Jal. No one knows if you're truly fasting. We do not know what you do in those hidden corners. No one knows. This is something exclusively between you and Allah Azza wa Jal. It is something you cannot have an intention to show it to others. It's very difficult to have an intention, riyah, to show off when it comes to fasting, especially the wajib fasts. That's something between you and Allah Azza wa Jal. The Prophet ﷺ says, من لم يدع قول الزور أو عمل والعمل به والجهل فليس لله حاجة أن يدع طعامه وشرابه. Whoever does not leave the idle talk and acting upon it and ignorance, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no need for him to leave his food and his drink. So let us be careful never to give our deeds to other people. You know the hadith of the person who comes on the day of judgment and is a muflis. He's bankrupt. He insulted this one. He harmed this person physically. So his good deeds are given to those people. Until his good deeds end, then the evil deeds of that person are transferred to this person and ends up in the hellfire. Be bakhil when it comes to your good deeds. Be very bakhil when it comes to your good deeds. Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah says, if I was to do ghiba on anyone, I'll do it on my mother. Because she's the only person who deserves for me to give my thawab to her. Taib? The next issue, fillah, what do you do if someone insults you or wants to fight with you? You know this. You say, inni sa'im, and I'm fasting. It means you're protecting your deeds, and you shall continue upon this act even after Ramadan. If someone insults you, you don't waste or you don't descend to that level of insulting them. Let them win. If that's your level, you want to insult me, go ahead, insult me. For if someone wants to spit on the sun, what happens? The spit will come back on their face. Always be higher than that person. Know that the tree that has fruits is the one that people throw rocks on, not any other tree. Type. Final issue, fillah. What do you do if you're fasting? Voluntary fast, obligatory fast, then you're called for lunch or for dinner or for a wedding or for tea with the brothers. What do you do? No? If it's voluntary, then you have the option of breaking your fast or continuing your fast. But be careful, you understand the feelings of the person who is inviting you. Also take care of the feelings of the person inviting you. You have an elder or an auntie or your own parent you have not seen for ages, you go visit, then they're preparing for your feast, then you come, you say, I'm fasting. That is not proper. So be careful with the feelings of the person who is also inviting you. If it's an obligatory fast, don't break your fast. You finish that day. Apologize or come back later. I'll come back after Maghrib. Use always polite words. For benefit, ikhwan fillah, also with regards to this Ramadan. We're fasting Ramadan. After Ramadan is the day of Eid. The same thing with the Eid. Don't rush, ikhwan fillah, that on the second of Eid you start your Shawwal. I know many people, mashallah, badiru bil a'mal, sabiqu, sari'u. They want to rush. No. The second of Ramadan, yes, the second of Shawwal is not a day of Eid. You can fast, no doubt about it. But what the scholars, they say, you still have relatives, you have friends, you have companions, you have people to invite or to be invited to. At least focus on those bonds for these few days. Then you can start your 6 days of Shawwal. Now together. Shawwal is 30 days. You can just spare the day one is your Eid day, correct? Eid is only 1 day for Eid al-Fitr. At least the next 2-3 days also, if you have other family members you've not visited, other relatives, other companions, neighbors, people that you have to bring bring them close so that you can break your fast together. The Prophet ﷺ, one day he entered the house of Sulaym and she brought to him dates and some fat. The Prophet ﷺ told her, return back your food. I am fasting today. So you're allowed, when you're invited to a house and you're fasting, to apologize in the most polite manner and postpone that meeting to another day. And this is the end of our lecture. If there are any questions, وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Any questions regarding what you have taken? Any questions? Don't be afraid, Yohani Fillah. Some people, sometimes you ask a question. Ask. There's no wrong question, inshallah. Any questions? No? He's asking, during the time of adhan for suhoor, which one do you follow? Do you follow the earliest one or do you follow the latest one? Every person will be, you're a person who has your own, you have to think for yourself. Look at the app, for example. See what time the app says for salah. I think most of the apps, Qura time is correct, or it's relatively correct. So if the time for adhan is 5:20, you see the mosque that gives the adhan at 5:20 or 5:21 or 5:19, follow that adhan. Follow that adhan that's closest to the app. We're not in the desert. If I was in the desert, you have to follow what is in the sky with regards to the Fajr as-Sadiq that we mentioned in the first lecture. Now, the difference between sahur and suhoor. Sahur is that food that you're eating. You know the plates, sahur. And suhoor is the act of taking it. Suhoor. Sahara, yashur, nam, sahara. Nam. Right hand. Outside the topic. Najashi was a Muslim. The Prophet ﷺ prayed for him, Salatul Ghaib, when he passed away. He was here in East Africa, either Ethiopia or Eritrea, somewhere there. Some brothers say it's Eritrea, some people say it's the Tigray region of Ethiopia. He was a Muslim. He's the one who prayed Salatul Ghaib. And this also for benefit when it comes to Salatul Janazah. The Prophet ﷺ lost many of his companions outside Medina. They died. Like the 70 Qurra. The Qurra were killed. He did not pray Salatul Ghaib ﷺ except for Najashi. Except for Najashi. So the scholars, some of them, they say, you pray only Salatul Ghaib on a Muslim who has not been prayed upon. It's an area that cannot be prayed upon. So it's not Salatul Ghaib for everyone because he's a celebrity or is well known or is close to the kings or something that we pray Salatul Ghaib upon him. Now, the lady, that story is the Prophet ﷺ, he came to the mosque. Then he found out that the lady who was cleaning the mosque is not there. He asked, where is this lady? He was informed that this lady passed away last night and was buried last night. He asked, why didn't you inform me? He says, it was late that night. So the Prophet ﷺ went to the grave and prayed for her. This is not Salatul Ghaib, this is Salatul Janazah. It's hadir, it's something present. Ghaib means something that is not present. Now, yes, you can say it, you say it publicly. It's not riyah, it's not showing off, or it's not an issue of you hiding your deeds. If someone wants to fight you, wants to insult you, just show them that I'm fasting. At least if you're not having respect for me, have respect for the deed that I'm doing. Have respect for the ibadah that I'm doing. Now, Dr. No. The issue of the Jews fishing on Saturday by keeping the nets on Friday and picking up on Sunday is a form of deception to go around the Sharia. But this woman who's taking the pills to prevent herself from bleeding is not doing something to go around the Sharia. Rather, she's doing something so that she can be able to fast with the rest of the Muslims. It's different from those two. No? Yes, it's accepted for a lady to use the pills as long as the doctors confirm that those pills have no harm on her. So she can use it to fast the 30 days of Ramadan. Some of them use it also for Hajj. Some sisters use it for Hajj so that they can able to perform the acts of Hajj that are required of them. Now, that's another issue. What is sunnah for Muslims to do? The hadith of Abu Hurairah, the Prophet ﷺ, he says, my friend, my Khalil, he advised me, from the advice he gave me is to fast 3 days each month. So you can fast any 3 days of each month. Don't restrict yourself to day 13, 14, 15th. Fast any 3 days. Siafunge imempita, si ndio? Siafunge leo, afunge kesho. Not as bright days. The reward is not mentioned for the bright days for the hadith. The hadith mentions fast 3 days. Then the another hadith says day 13, 14, 15th, which is it's not restricted. You can fast any 3 days of the month. Are you together? The 3 days required of you to fast every month as a sunnah is any day of the month. Not necessarily day 13, 14, 15th. If it passes you, if you want to bring it earlier for whatever reason, or bring it later, it's up to you, completely. But what is recommended is 13, 14, 15. You can fast any time. Now, any other questions? 13, 14, 15 most likely have higher rewards. They have higher rewards. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Now. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We shall continue next week Friday.